Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a beautiful Friday here in Seoul for LCK Summer 2020. I'm Atlas, and once again, I am joined by the Valdanalist. Little Sick is becoming a lot of sick recently. He's not feeling too well. Make sure you send out your prayers and thoughts to our analyst here at the LCK, because we don't have many of them. You know, we're running a little thin on the old analysts, and hopefully LS is going to be feeling better as soon as possible. But thankfully, the Valdanalist is here to take care of us as we watch KT try and destroy Sandbox's hopes for playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there is stuff going on for this match. You might look at it and say, well, you know, what really is on the line? But yeah, especially for SeolHaeOne Prince. I mean, they're kind of down in the dumps. They've only won one game so far, so mainly playing to show their good stuff, because we really don't know what's going to happen next year in terms of where all these players are going to go, what organizations are going to be franchised in, what opportunities all these players will have. And so every single game does matter in that sense, but also playing for pride, and we'll see which players do come out here as well for their team. They've been mixing and matching some of that, as KT, on the other hand, they still do have a chance to make it into playoffs, so they're going to be trying to 2-0 every single game.
And even if KT don't make it into playoffs, they're guaranteed the World's Gauntlet, because there's likely to be only one new team that picks up any championship points, and that means the 6 teams that will then eventuate with championship points. 2 of them are going to go, 4 of them are going to be auto-qualified. So KT are basically done. As far as their world chances, it will be retained until after the playoffs. But let's have a look at the points of the match. Both teams are desperate for victory. SeolHaeOne Prince wants to break their 14-series losing streak versus KT, the King of the East, still in the playoff competition. And yeah, they want to make it so that there's only 5 teams that actually achieve championship points, and then we're going to have to work out who the heck goes through afterwards. It's likely to be a freaker. I think it's based on standings in spring and summer, weighted a little bit more towards summer, despite the fact that no championship points were actually awarded. But this is something that we're going to have to, a bridge that we'll cross if we are in need of crossing it, because at the moment, Afrika are looking in pretty good shape for getting that final playoff position.
Yep, we'll see if KT can pull off the run. They're relying on Afrika to lose some matches as well on top of it. As you guys can see here, the remaining opponents for KT are Afrika and Damwon. After today, definitely not going to be easy, as you guys will see the remaining matches that are here. Afrika obviously in the best position to try to make it in. Of course, if Afrika continue to win their matches, as they are 2 matches ahead of KT right now, they should almost definitely get in.
Yeah, exactly. So if Afrika loses all of them and KT wins all of theirs, then KT are also in. I don't think either of the teams are going to be beating Gen.G and Damwon, so maybe we throw that away. Now, if Sandbox beats Afrika, KT beats Afrika, then still not looking that great because of the 7 game score difference. But it depends how all of these things go, and it is possible that Afrika loses 4, KT gains 4, and then, in theory, they will be getting into playoffs despite what happens against Gen.G and Damwon, unless Afrika somehow manages to win, in which case KT's chances go out the window yet again. There are a lot of different variables, and I know there are a lot of statisticians, especially over in the LEC, that like to come up with all the different ways and the amount of outcomes that can come through. We are already mathematically challenged as it is. We don't have statisticians other than ourselves, and so you're just going to have to take all of our crazy
the writers, right? The writers give us a sheet, and they say, well, these are the potential outcomes of what could happen. As you guys did see, Sandbox also do have a chance to make it in, but it is kind of mission impossible. They need
100%,
both KT and Afrika to lose all of their games, and they need to win all of their games, basically, with the 2-0. So
and they need KT to win 1 game against Afrika.
Yes.
That's what they need.
On top of everything.
The main thing is that they need SeolHaeOne Prince to win here today. Or take a game, I think, if KT 2-0s.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that Sandbox are 100% eliminated. As we've got things flying around everywhere. It's still not looking good for Sandbox, so of course Yamato tweeting out about the fact that their playoff dreams have died is not necessarily 100% true, but it is more true than it is false.
Yes, that is true. They're not exactly in a great spot, but here we go. Taking a look at SeolHaeOne Prince's lineup. Katie is back in, and so is Flawless. Actually, he was skipping a couple of games to let in Kuma, I believe.
Yep, yeah, Kuma. I think it's so that we're not as confused with Kuro and Kuma being opposing one another. Of course, it is not going to be Kuro. I'm going to spoil that for you right now, but Smeb will be back towards the top side, so if you guys were craving some of that Rocks Tigers action, Smeb is still here. Bono back in the jungle though. Malrung is out. He won his only game in, only match in 3-year stint or something like that in the LCK, but now he's out. Bono's back in. See whether he can help them claim a victory. Yukal in that mid lane like I was talking about, and the bottom lane is going to be aiming in Tucson as per usual, as we've got some older gentlemen on the top side of the map, as Ixu versus Smeb is going to be your matchup. And let's look at Smeb's stats, shall we?
Let's look at the right side, maybe not the left side. Obviously, the story for Ixu is a little bit sad. I remember when he retired to become a cryptocurrency investor.
Yeah.
And then he came back to play, and he looked pretty good in spring. I mean, he was pulling off pretty new picks that nobody was playing, but all of a sudden in summer, things have definitely taken a turn for the worse, as Smeb has got some good numbers for being on KT, currently the 6th team in the LCK.
Exactly. His damage difference at 15 is huge, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's found some success on the top Lucian. We saw Canna do the same thing yesterday. Definitely is a pick that requires a lot of snowball in the early game, but when it gets it, oh my god. You can see why this Lucian top lane pick has been picked in the past. We sort of made jokes about it, you know, we didn't necessarily see it winning all that often, so it felt like a bit of a trap pick, but when it does work, it works. So you can see what might be happening in scrims to make these players prioritize the pick a little bit higher. I'd like to see what Dark Technology, good old Flawless, has been cooking up for us as well while he's taken some time off. You did mention that Kuma has been playing a little bit more.
Yeah, he comes back in, so does Bono, so technically the starting junglers from both sides. And it's kind of interesting that Hybrid, who was a really huge carry for SeolHaeOne Prince, especially in spring, has now kind of been replaced by Trigger alongside of his support comrade in Mia. And yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how the tables do turn in that sense. So
oh,
Hybrid,
how the turntables.
yes,
indeed.
Exactly. It's kind of sad to see Hybrid go from carrying the team hardcore. And we were calling this guy like a really top 80 carry.
It was like almost prodigy, you know? He
Yeah.
was definitely showing, at least individually, some great performances. But his refusal to build QSS might be the reason why he's been benched for the minute. We'll have to see whether Trigger's going to build one as well, because otherwise we might be calling for Hybrid to come back, because it doesn't seem to make a difference. But here we are, into the ban and pick for SeolHaeOne Prince versus KT. KT wearing appropriate colors here on the red side, as TF will be the first ban up against Yukal. And Volibear's banned this time. I like it. It was a little bit confusing to see yesterday in the Africa versus T1 series. Volibear got through a couple of times in a row. Was dismantled pretty beautifully by Cuz in the second match. So definitely something that is... It is possible to deal with it. It's just better just not to, because you have 3 bans. You may as well throw one at a Volibear if you're on the red side.
Volibear definitely has become a LCK player favorite, and it's for a good reason. Volibear is absolutely very strong right now. The Lucian ban is kind of interesting. We do see that they do not want to deal with Smeb playing that pick. They don't want to see it flexed or anything like that, as Ezreal is also going to be taken off the board here up against Aiming, who is a pretty consistent 80 carry here in the LCK that we do oftentimes talk about. Definitely one of the main carries of this KT lineup.
Alawi going to be banned here by KT, wanting to leave up both Ashe and Caitlyn. Of course, a lot of teams from across the world actually happy to take the Ashe into that matchup. We saw Caitlyn find some success finally yesterday, but we'll see whether it's going to continue to happen, as Set looks like it's going to be the priority and is going to be locked in. Still, fantastic win rate, especially on this patch. Last week went 100%. See whether that continues here in the hands of SeolHaeOne Prince, as KT consider what they're going to take. No Karmas available, no Twisted Fates, but Bard is up. And we could see Bard Caitlyn here, possibly.
Always a fan of Brad.
Oh yeah, big bad Brad.
Yeah, and I think he fell off a little bit yesterday. At least we didn't see him very much. He got banned a couple of times, but I don't believe he was picked. As this time around, KT, I'm not going to waste any time, pick that one up alongside of Nidalee, saying, hey, this is the best leftover jungle after the Volibear gets taken away, so let's take it early here for Bono.
And actually, I like it when you see Nidalee picked alongside Bard, because it allows you to pick very damage-heavy without too much frontline, because Tempered Fate allows you to skew the battlefield so much that you can, you know, live in a team fight without having to worry about tanks. As the Ashe is going to be the priority pick here for Trigger. We'll see whether they go towards the Pantheon matchup as well. But no, it's going to be Ixu actually locking down the Gnar. They are going to sacrifice the set flex by doing this, but they just want to make sure that Ixu is going to be as comfortable as possible, as there's the Caitlyn that we were expecting. And I think that Aiming was more than happy to pick either Caitlyn or Ashe in that instance, which is why they're going to priority pick the Nidalee, and I can certainly give them some kudos for that one.
Yeah, and we are seeing a little bit of a shift here in the LCK, especially with the onset of Caitlyn coming in and Nidalee in the jungle. A lot more range supports coming in. We're seeing a lot of teams just gain a lot more range overall. It's just happening that way, especially because a lot of the responses to those ranged picks are more range, especially down on the bottom side, as we do see Ashe and Jhin and stuff like that picked into Caitlyn. And let's see what they're going to ban away here, as the Camille is going to be taken off the board.
Yeah, they're really trying to protect Ixu as much as possible. He certainly hasn't had the best couple of weeks here in the LCK. Seeing whether they can tidy up that matchup against Smeb. And this is a matchup that, you know, we talked about 2 years ago, something like that. Ixu versus Smeb. Like, this goes back into the history books, back when Ixu was a top laner for teams like Jhin Air Green Wings, as the Kiana to be taken away from Kenny. So Kenny was certainly an assassin player in the mid lane. It's funny that he got replaced by Mickey, the Zed extraordinaire, right? It's like, well, we changed the name. The playstyle remains the same. But the Kiana is still going to get respect banned away. It's likely that he just goes towards something like a LeBlanc, unless Yukao's going to pick that one away, as there's the Jace. Further protection for Ixu.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some stuff available. Obviously, the Wukong could be a choice. And, of course, our boy Renekton still remains available, but they are going to shy away from that here in this game. They're going to pick up the Wukong, and you would assume that that is going to go into the top side, and they're looking to counter-pick in the mid lane for Yukao.
I actually really like this. Smeb has always been phenomenal at finding teleport flanks and just flanks in general, and Wukong is an incredible flanking champion with that Cyclone. So playing towards their strengths, as Mia's heading towards the Blitzcrank. Certainly an option up against the Caitlyn and the Bard. Not a lot of maneuverability as Kaney sticking to his assassin guns, but it is going to be with the Echo. He's going to have a little bit more of that teamfight prowess. They have so much CC, so much pick, and their hard engage ain't bad either if Ixu can manage that Gnar bar pretty well alongside Flawless, who's going to be jungling the set as the dust settles. Last pick, Sylas for Yukao in mid lane. See how he's going to utilize this. Certainly a lot of ultimates that he can play with. I think everyone remembers Sylas stealing away Gnar's ultimate. And that's actually, like, oftentimes we talk about Sylas getting nerfed versions of ultimates, because, of course, like, there are certain champions that doesn't necessarily synergize as well with, Kassadin being a perfect example. You can't stack the Riftwalk if you're Sylas. However, against Gnar, brilliant. You don't need a Gnar bar. You just press R.
Yeah.
People go against walls. Perfection.
Yeah, it's really good against that, as we did see the set, I believe, was actually rotated into the mid lane, and we had Echo into the jungle. So a little bit of a last-second swap-areno came in there.
All right.
Flawless hasn't played any Echo so far, so he took a little break, he comes back, and he's playing Echo jungle. So looking to show us something very different here for himself. And Kaney coming back here, you were talking about how he's a assassin player. He loves to get aggressive. He's just going to play that kind of tanky mid laner in the set, a la Chovy, as he is going to be going up against the Sylas. Maybe they wanted to have this matchup instead of the Echo versus Sylas one.
Yep, not a bad matchup for the set at all. You don't have to worry about being poked down from range or anything like that. And you do have some options. Of course, I don't think anyone's going to be killing anyone in that mid lane. And Echo, he has some gank potential, but I think he should be able to move out of it as Yukal, as he's pretty slippery on this Sylas. So, let's see what SeolHaeOne Prince are going to be able to do with a bit more of an eclectic comp. Looking forward to seeing good old Flawless's Pyoshik impression on this Echo. Flawless was always known for being a player that did have a lot of aggressive tendencies, but in pro play, it's just never really been able to channel it. As SeolHaeOne Prince aggressively moving towards the bottom lane, and KT are going to be absent, which is good news for them.
Saw multiple pings there. I guess Mia showed just barely in the range of the turret as they were able to spot the Blitzcrank moving a little bit too far forward, but nothing really is going to happen. They're not going to go for any kind of solo queue plays where you're, 5-man invading into the enemy jungle.
No blitz hooks under blue buffs or anything like that?
Yeah, nothing too crazy here. Should start off relatively safe and sound. Smeb is able to get a nice little ward down onto the blue of Flawless, so he'll be able to see the timing of when he does get over to that buff.
Yep, having a look. Another Conqueror Echo coming in here with the domination subs just to give himself a bit more sustain. Gathering Storm on the Caitlyn. Love it, as this is pretty standard for what we've seen. But aiming, just making sure that when he hits that 3-item spike that we've seen so often, he's going to be able to make it work. Root wasn't quite able to in every game yesterday, unfortunately for Sandbox. We'll see what aiming's going to be able to be capable of here on the Kate now. Caitlyn Bard, a lot of harassment potential here in the lane, but Blitzcrank just mixes up all of the analysis, right? Like, there's no way to really call when a Blitzcrank is just going to be able to have a fantastic hook, as Ixu's already at beneath 200 health, which is bad.
At level 1,
yeah, it's
it looks
not
like
working out
Smeb
so well.
Literally just walked at him and pressed a button and started auto-attacking him, so he made that range versus melee matchup not look so great for Ixu so far, so he's going to be able to push in here, as you see that aiming has tried a couple of games of Caitlyn, has a couple of losses on it, as do most of the 80 carries in the LCK currently, as Caitlyn, I think, is 3-13 right now. Not the best stats.
Yeah, she's having a pretty poor time. You can see why she works in the games that she wins, and especially if you've been watching other regions, right? Caitlyn doesn't have quite the abysmal win rate that we see here in the LCK. It seems like teams have certainly been able to win games before she's been relevant, which is not necessarily the old LCK way, right? Like, we have certainly sped up as a region. It means that getting to those 3-item spikes is harder. And maybe, maybe Kobe and Free could have something to say about the builds that we've been seeing on our Caitlyn's as well, without the added BF sword. But Yukal just going to throw a chain lash into nothing.
Yeah, you would imagine that the set would have a decent advantage, as we got some action here.
Yep, Time Winder comes down. There's the flash after Bono. Very aggressive, but I don't know whether he necessarily wins this, as Kaney's going to jump forward. But Flawless still wants this fight. Spear is going to connect, as Smeb is going to come down as well. Kaney still waiting in the brush, and Smeb just grabs the kill. I don't know what they were expecting. There's the flash face breaker as Ixu finally turns up. Bono going to be taken down. It is chaos in the jungle. A double kill for Smeb, though, as now it's him versus Ixu, and I think we all know how this one goes. The flash to follow. The red buff is going to stop Ixu from doing anything. Smeb waiting for that E, but he is going to be able to find it, and there it is. Triple kill to start the game. Flash forward from Trigger. He's exhausted, as now aiming is being spotted by the hawk shot. I don't think we're going to have another rocket grab, as Tucson intelligently is going to block. As there it does come in, as Trigger's just running away. Smeb had teleported down. He wants 4 kills before 5 minutes. This game is just absolutely off the rails, and it's all to the benefit of Smeb.
Oh, Max, this is when you need to bring your sax, right? This is when you need to start playing that yakety sax. We are just all over the place in this game, as Yukal thankfully is going to get this massive wave that Smeb gave up for the action. And this is what you get when you're going into a SeolHaeOne Prince matchup. They never back down from a team fight, from any fight, really. And it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's not always successful, as we have seen here at the LCK, but it gets the blood flowing early and often. As you can see, Flawless is like, I see enemy champion, I go on enemy champion.
Look at this flash.
Yeah, this flash, I'm like, whoa! And you see Kaney's able to rotate first, which I think is part of the reason why he's going so aggressive. So starts this 2-on-2, but they're so deep that Smeb gets there first, and then eventually UCal comes over. And then we actually get Kaney popping off here, able to get 2 kills on the set. I love how he kites into the brush to play with some of the LOS. And in the end of the day, though, it is going to be a massive win to the side of KT as Smeb picked up double buffs. And also 4 kills in total as he joined in on this fight, Max.
Yeah, exactly. Aiming, tried to get a cleanse working out, but you can't cleanse a knocker. It's not a thing that you can really do anything about, as this was just great by Tucson to block so that rocket grab didn't land. Now with the giant minion wave as well as 2 people versus 1, Mia was definitely dead and Trigger was trying to escape and just leave his support to die, but he's also going to fall. Bono would have landed that spear as well. As we go back to live, and there's more fighting, of course. Trigger down to sub 100 as Tucson Flash misses yet another Q, much like he did on his Lux earlier on. Bit unfortunate, Peacemaker barely scratches the exhaust pipes of the Blitzcrank, and he will make it out to safety.
Well,
I'm glad that we have 2 play-by-plays for today. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I might need to take over some of the play-by-play if this keeps going the way it's going, as we're not used to.
Feel free.
We're not used to a kill a minute or more here in the LCK, especially this early. But these teams have gifted us with some fun fiesta action to start it off. I'd really love to see how that bottom lane fight started, because it did look like it was Trigger and Mia, because we had like the picture-in-picture in the bottom. It looked like they were the ones going aggressively, and unfortunately for them, it does mean that the Caitlyn is going to get pretty massively ahead. Already has the BF sword, and is going to get even more compared to just the call, as Trigger is trying to slowly ramp up. But yeah, after everything happened here, KT significantly in control of this game, able to pick off that first dragon. And we'll see how they go from here.
Yep, and we're looking at some of the lane control that a Caitlyn should be able to acquire in the early game. We didn't really see it yesterday. I felt like Ruler and Life was sort of skill skewing the matchup a little bit in a few different ways. But now with the Bard alongside her, this Caitlyn is going to have a good time. Of course, there's not a lot of lane presence with a Blitzcrank, unless you're in bronze, in which case he lands all of his hooks, as Trigger is going to avoid the Tempered Fate. Tucson's had a few off games in a row recently as far as skill shot landing. We'll see whether he can get his eye in for the rest of the day.
Yeah, well, their top Smeb is too strong. They don't want to throw him down into the support role again. Even though he was the one counter to DRX, apparently, based on what we did see.
Yep.
Flawless is just going to go ahead and try to start this and hope that nobody sees him. But the petty theft is not going to work out this time around, as KT will spot him and will deny him from sneaking that objective away.
Somehow UCal as well with a 10 CS advantage, despite what we see in the lane. Kaney has been harassing UCal pretty well, and does have pretty good itemization against the Silas that has gone double Doran's Ring and Boots of Lucidity, which is novel to say the least. Just wanting to keep himself alive for as long as possible, I guess. And Smeb up here, not going to have too many issues against the Nard. He's got boots too, so going to be able to avoid things like spears, keeping his distance, as we can see, and does have a CS advantage because Ixu is able to get back towards that lane. Smeb, of course, teleporting down. Tucson's in the mid lane. That's a flash face breaker into the showstopper. Tucson out of position now. He's a very squishy Brad who'll take a magical journey. We'll see whether he does have the cosmic binding. He does, but misses the wall onto Flawless, and a phase dive will be able to grab that kill. Just out of position for the support Bard, and KT. That was a whoopsie.
Yeah, it's kind of the effect of the Rift Herald, where everybody's like, now we gotta rotate up to the Rift Herald, as is the way of things. And Both of the supports usually do it. Sometimes the AD carries can try to pull it off if they get a push going. But it looked like they were trying to set up a play onto UCal, but then they saw the squishy Bard. So that was even better.
Comes Flawless, another flash as the arrow is going to be flashed out of. UCal coming down. Could be a team fight underneath this turret as they're looking for a plate before they leave. And they are going to be able to get a parallel convergence used defensively. That should be the end of that, as Bono was topside, and that's why SeolHaeOne Prince could go aggressive. He was able to take the Rift Herald as well, as Smeb gets him for a bit of a trade, hops back out again. And he's a 4-0 Wukong, but it still feels like Ixu's in a pretty good spot. Ninja Tabi, pretty good item, apparently.
Yeah, and the Wukong does need a little bit of time to ramp up, get his items. It was definitely feeling good when he had the double buff, but still going to be a little bit of a difficult lane against this Gnar. Ixu definitely favoring the Gnar as he goes in for it, but it's read by Smeb. Not going to be caught off guard that time around.
Yeah, pretty comfortable just decoy to get out of the way there. But, you know, sometimes you got to go for it. And now aiming, looking to try and return that plate favor, as we will have the Rift Herald down here as well. Getting the Caitlyn as much money as possible is a real good call here for KT. Looks like Tucson and Bono are also going to join in on the spoils. And aiming will be able to actually grab first turret blood, even though the turret did get a bit angry at him. And he's already got a, 28 CS advantage. The Caitlyn is in a brilliant spot at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be super fed, and that's where you want your gold when you are KT. You want to put it onto aiming. He is the main carry. And Smeb is slowly but surely coming back into form, it does seem, and helping carry for his team. So getting those two players fed is really just going to feel quite nice for their team. As the Executioner's early here is going to delay the build from set, but it's fantastic in the 1v1, specifically against the Silas and Nidalee, even if he joins in. As, yep, they were going for a little bit of a play in the mid lane. Didn't expect to see the squishy Bard, but they were happy to take him down, as ends up just being a free kill over to the side of Flawless.
And now, as the dust settles from that turret falling on the bottom side, it is about a 2,000 gold lead. And aiming's going to settle himself in the mid lane. Ace in the hole just delivered to me, and wow, a bit of a love tap, did a fair bit of damage. As Bono and aiming going to get to work on this second Drake of the game, which will be the Ocean. Let's have a look which soul we're going to get, and it's Infernal. Oh boy. That's good news for KT, absolutely. As they're the ones with the most control of these neutral objectives. SeolHaeOne Prince, though, if they're able to turn it around and grab a quad stack of Infernals, they do certainly have a lot of damage themselves.
Yeah, and even a singular one, you know, it does add a lot more, it's going to add a lot more fighting, that's for sure. If it was like a Cloud, KT can be like, oh, well, you know, we can get some objectives on the top side of the map and give you one Cloud Drake. That's not really going to, we're not really going to care too much about that, but they're more likely to fight over the singular and, of course, the Soul Infernals that do eventually come onto the map here. But as you were mentioning, I mean, KT in pretty strong control of this game. I don't think they're going to be losing it anytime soon unless we have a team fight that goes awry, which could happen as Bono was over a ward there, but Mia elected not to go for the pull.
Yep. Infernal Rift, a bit of a nerf to Bard. He does like walls, but on the other side of the map, also a bit of a nerf to the Gnar, who also likes walls. So removing some of those means that things can get a bit more difficult, but it feels like it's pretty evenly spread. I guess maybe more of a nerf for KT because UCal can also have a Bard ultimate. But there's another rocket grab that's going to land as aiming's just going to be obliterated. Tempered Fate way too late. No way that Tucson can do that, as I'm not even sure why aiming was there. Maybe coming over to try and grab this red buff that Bono's going to secure, but he may die.
Oh, that was weird.
That's okay.
I was like, wait, what interaction is that? I've never seen that one.
Stall.
Echo stopped time, apparently. The flash went on cooldown for Mia, so I'm assuming that, you know, aiming was just kind of hanging around mid lane, maybe edging on towards that red buff side, and then just got flash grabbed. So it looked a little bit silly, but we'll have to take a look at the replay. Just a nice play by Mia. And that's what happens when you pick Blitzcrank, right? He's kind of that wild card that we always like to talk about. It's like, well, you could get destroyed in lane, you could do absolutely nothing, but if you get one huge hook, I mean, you could change the entire game as, yeah. Straight up flash hook there, as it didn't look like Aiming was expecting that one at all.
Yep. No vision available, and you can see now KT have rectified it as it's like a Christmas tree in their jungle and around the Baron pit, as it looks like a fight for second Rift Herald might be where we're finding action. Smeb going to save his turret for the moment, but it's on its last legs as Ixu has almost a 30 CS advantage. And a Black Cleaver now complete. Trinity Force is done here for Smeb, but he really did sack the lane by heading towards the bottom lane to grab that extra kill. Stormrazor done first here for Aiming. He's sitting on an extra dagger, so it looks like it's going to be Zeal item coming in second. Of course, you know you do get synergy with the Energize and the Stormrazor, so I guess wanting to go for that one before an Infinity Edge, which I prefer.
Yeah.
That's all we really need to worry about.
Just curious to see if any of the other Caitlyn's were going to mix it up, or are we just going to see this kind of build? Definitely gets you to your power spike a bit later.
Yeah,
we were talking about yesterday.
A bit more safety, which is, I guess, what our LCK 80 carries do like, because now Yukal just bouncing around here on the bottom side. Gets his face broken for a little bit of time, but the Haymaker not going to connect. Yukal, he did have a Chrono Break available, so it wasn't likely that he was going to die. So maybe now underneath the turret. As KT just grouping themselves up, and we'll be able to take down this outer on the top side. So looks like they're going to be able to grab their second turret without too much of a response from SeolHaeOne Prince. We'll be able to extend that gold lead beyond 2,000.
Yeah, nice little play, finding value where they can get it here in this one. It's incredibly hard to dive a Sylas when you have an Echo on your team, as you were mentioning. I mean, that guy's just never going to die. He's tanky enough as it is. He has amazing sustain. You've got to commit probably 3 players down there if you want to kill the Sylas. Otherwise, he's just going to steal your life. He's going to Chrono Break and just be a happy man.
Yeah. Certainly could have been some opportunities for some damage with the Chrono Break, but maybe wanted to hold on to it so that he'd have safety in the lane for a little bit of an extended period of time. And he uses it to get a good back timing instead. So I guess there's that. With your teleport on cooldown, you do have that opportunity. So Yukal just giving that a little bit more priority than that of the damage. Didn't think that he actually had kill threat, as the first Infernal will be spawning. And, snap, good sidestep there. Avoids the rocket grab from the Nether. Okay, Flawless going to get stunned up there by Tucson, but not a lot of follow-up, as that's a great spear. Arrow going to be traded, but it's not going to hit Shirley. Shirley. Who will plant her head into the turret, but not actually grab that kill, as Mia, he kind of wishes that we had an extra buff onto the Blitzcrank. It was buff, but obviously not enough.
Maybe he wants a little bit of a Chrono Break in the game, perhaps. Maybe he should ask his friend Echo for that one. But yeah, that's the nature of Blitzcrank from behind. If you miss your hooks, it's on cooldown, and the rest of your team doesn't really have much of a support, plus they're behind, so you kind of just have to sit back and essentially take it. And they do have to give that one over to KT, who did also put on pressure with Surly, of course, so just stacking the objectives, getting ahead, and feeling pretty good at this point in time.
Yeah, Aiming just plowing through minion waves over and over again here in the mid lane. And Soul Point is a big deal. Trigger, he's got an Essence Reaver, so going for that build that I believe Deft did use first here in the LCK for Summer 2020. Of course, it was a build in the past, Essence Reaver first on the Ashe, but most of the time it has been Blade of the Ruined King and the Runan's Hurricane. We'll be building Runan second and then an Infinity Edge.
I wonder if anyone else is going to consider healing reduction on the side of SeolHaeOne Prince. They are going up against Sylas in Italy and
Bard. Yeah, it's a fair bit.
Bard and eventually lifesteal out of the Caitlyn, so it can get a lot of value in some of the team fights. As wow, Nar was really fast there for a moment. I'm like, did we just speed up the stream? Like it looked like he was moving so fast that it was almost fast forwarding. And yeah, I mean, you've even got a choice of Death Stance eventually for Smeb, so definitely could get some value there. But looks like we're not going to move towards that just yet. We'll just be set with the Executioner's Calling for now.
Yeah, it might be that Flawless can put together something like a Morello. He'll be going towards Merc Treads by the looks with that Null Magic Mantle. And then it might be something like an Oblivion Orb to make up for the lack of penetration. Kaney's going to get stabbed by a spear from long range. As aiming comes in. I think the Ash building and execution is just cheekily after the Runards. It's a great way of getting it. As there's the arrow, but Smeb, he's already engaged and got out again. That is going to buy enough space here for KT to disengage and take down the turret. That buys them so much more space and map control for this next Drake that's going to be spawning in 2.5 minutes. Infernal Soul. It's a big deal, guys.
Yeah. And, of course, Wukong's always going to have a fun time up against the Blitzcrank as long as you have fast enough reaction time. Just immediately go into your clone and to let the clone get hooked. Back away. They're able to crack down on that mid-tier 1. And we're essentially waiting now for the Infernal Drake Soul point, I guess we should call it, the next one that is coming up here. And it doesn't look like KT are going to make any rash maneuvers before that time.
Yep, Kaney just making some hay up towards the top side, but unfortunately isn't able to pilfer the gold out of the siege minion. What do you mean?
Is that the first time you've said that? I don't know why.
I actually don't think so. I think I've said it before.
Yeah. I don't know why I found that so funny.
Verbification of ability names is one of the ways that I have fun in my life.
Yeah. What did you say yesterday? Like fandangle or something? Like.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't even that was just a word that didn't make sense. Yeah, yesterday was that was a creative day.
It was a fun day for sure.
Coming out with some words.
A lot came out of that day. I think we all learned a lot from.
I mean, I arrived 10 minutes before the show, if you remember, because we otherwise it was going to be another Valdanalist solo cast.
Yeah,
which I wanted to save you from.
The Val PvP analyst.
PvP Danalist is that's a hook. That's possibly dead Blitzcrank, but he is going to avoid a lot of that damage. His aiming's feeling frisky. Net not going to connect or anything like that. Not able to get that free headshot. Now Flawless waiting in the wings, but he's going to hop on over. And Smeb in a pretty good spot to get a flank, even without the teleport. 53 seconds, the setup begins as Smeb cycloning already onto Ixu. The Narbar is going to be built up as that's a great stun into the wall. Facebreaker onto multiple members as aiming now comes down, grabs that kill, and unfortunately, it looks like SeolHaeOne Prince are just too far behind. That is a Chrono Break used defensively. Good abduct from Yukal, who won't land the Chain Lash for the extra damage, and Flawless looks like he will escape. There's the Super Soaker, and Yukal wanting to get aggressive. No rocket grab to land as there's a Krug in the way. As SeolHaeOne Prince looking to back away. KT not quite getting enough to guarantee an Infernal Drake. Now they're going for that last second reset before they come down and fight for real.
Yeah, the fight was opened up pretty early, but KT saw the chance. And of course they want to try to break open a fight on their terms right before this last Infernal Drake, as Yukal is in a little bit of an awkward spot here. He's going to have to flash the arrow.
Didn't want to be flashing there. Wanted to be flashing in this incoming fight. I was about to say ensuing and oncoming at the same time and said incoming. Thankfully, it's still a word. Ensuing.
Yeah, well.
Let's have a look. See whether SeolHaeOne Prince can keep these health bars high. Aiming. Wanting to stay in position. Cyclone almost back off cooldown as Parallel Convergence. Not going to find any stuns or anything. As Mia's going to get trapped. Another Tempered Fate will land. Will he have the rocket grab? He does! And it is going to land onto Tucson, who flashes away immediately. Yukal now with a Narbar of his own. Looking to see whether he can get some stuns into the wall. Kaney going to get just melted down by aiming. He's looking for those autos. But no, not going to be able to get there. But into the backline goes the Silas. And he will be able to eradicate the rift of the set there. And as you can see, it's just going to be a cavalcade of issues for SeolHaeOne Prince. Now, this is a time where we have to weigh up whether Infernal Soul or Baron is better. And KT say that the Baron is where they want to be.
Yeah, we'll see if they can maneuver that Baron into the Infernal Drake Soul afterwards. This is the fight that originally happened. I like the setup from Kaney where he's waiting to get, you know, the massive set value, but where's the rest of his team? Everybody's so far behind. I mean, Ashe doesn't get here and do any damage at all. So that fight was lost from there, but this one looked a little bit silly because it started off really well for the side of SeolHaeOne Prince, and we were like, wow, great engage. Maybe they can actually get something out of this, but because there was so much focus all onto the Bard, and it was so broken up. By the way, massive ultimate there from Yucal, who just slams two of them into the wall. Because it was so broken up, nobody could actually get into the back line onto the Caitlyn, as here we go again.
Yep, there's an arrow. It is going to land onto Yucal, who just chrono breaks for damage on top of SeolHaeOne Prince. Now a teleport right into the middle of them. Smeb comes through. Ixu gets a big ultimate, but unfortunately the wallets are too heavy, and the Kingslayer keeps Yucal alive. Kaney's just... I don't think he's really doing much. He's CCing people, and then he's dying as Mia once again acing. The hole comes out, but I believe his passive just kept him alive there. But it doesn't really matter. Kaney and Trigger, both of them dead alongside Ixu. Now Smeb fighting Flawless, and the Cyclone comes out. Looks like he's just going to die. Nimbus Strike comes in, devastating blow, and a very dead Echo. As it's just a Blitzcrank. It's a robot with a dream, but probably going to be lacking a whole bunch of these inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, not sure why Flawless went back in there, but maybe thought there was no escape. We're seeing maybe if he can get something done. Wasn't actually going to work out, and as you guys can see, the Infernal Drake actually wasn't updated up there at the top, but KT did get it. For a second, I was questioning myself, like, they did get it, right? Like,
yeah,
but it's just
no. There are
CG.
only 3 Drakes this game, and now we're going straight to
we're just blitzing in this one.
Yeah.
As it's opened up here by SeolHaeOne Prince. I mentioned before, they're never going to back down from a fight, but huge value from the stolen chrono break. The KT are so far ahead at this point that the second that Smeb joins in and makes it a true 5v5, it is pretty much all but over. As
Aiming's just able to walk around and auto attack in amongst everything in that team fight. He did manage to avoid a lot of CC pretty nicely, but feels like an attack-moving Caitlyn, who now has Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and a QSS. This Caitlyn is about as strong as she's ever going to be, and much sooner than she should have been, as an arrow is going to be avoided there by an abscond from Yucal, and he's just going to get into a bit of a water fight with SeolHaeOne Prince with his Super Soaker.
Yeah.
KT moved towards the bottom lane, look to take down another inhibitor turret.
Now that I think about it, it's so difficult for SeolHaeOne Prince to hit KT with any skill shots. Everybody pretty much has got some sort of dash or maneuverability to get away from hooks, arrows. It's pretty nice for the side of KT, especially when you're ahead. You're not really going to be locked down or taken out of position by anything. And also with all that extra gold, QSS is being bought, etc. As now they are pushing in with the Baron, but it did just...
dissipate. Yeah.
Dissipate, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, pull it that way.
Yeah. Yucal's going ham.
Yep, he is going to be able to grab an ultimate there. Chrono breaks back. Mia and Flawless taking so much damage. Yucal's still alive, by the way. Bono going to grab the kill first up. Flawless in trouble now as well, who doesn't have his ultimate anymore. And KT are going to take down this inhibitor and possibly look for more. Everyone on SeolHaeOne Prince, apart from Trigger, needing to go back to that fountain. And KT really are putting on a clinic. I know it's against SeolHaeOne Prince, but certainly a good look for these guys. And this inhibitor going to go down. Smeb diving into the back line. Nothing SeolHaeOne can do. Second Cyclone goes out. That'll be the end of Flawless. Big haymaker, and the showstopper comes through as well, as he does get Yucal into the fountain. That's exactly what they want. This was their plan. Get them towards the fountain where they've got rocket grabs and showstoppers to grab some guaranteed kills. But unfortunately, if they're there, then obviously they're doing some damage to your Nexus.
And because of that dive, they're not going to end the game. They're going to say, well, we don't want a 3v3. We don't want to flip over these Nexus turrets. Let's just go back and play it safe. Oh boy, KT giving us some extra time in this one, as they are pretty massively ahead, but kind of a hilarious dive that time around.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got the value out of the showstopper rocket grab combo.
Take a look at Yucal.
Yucal's having a great day today.
He doesn't really care about any of their damage. He's got Chrono Break and he's Silas. It's like, well, it's unkillable essentially from ahead. Smeb, he's like, well, fed Wukong against not fed Ashe. I wonder who wins this trade.
Yeah, I believe that was Yukal showstoppering himself into the fountain. Unfortunately, does look a little bit confusing when everyone's just hopping up into the sky, things like that. But yeah, that was Yukal's bad.
Yeah, it was kind of like a, you know, a roller coaster, right? You go on it for the thrill.
I mean, that's what KT's all about. So I commend them for being on brand.
Yes, very true. They're about 12,000 gold ahead now. There's no buff on the map just yet, no big objective. We gotta wait about 30 seconds for that one. I was just gonna hang around the top side, waiting to see what they can do.
Yep, I like the vision line here for KT, certainly showing how dominantly positioned they are. And this ward not going to be working. The control ward was in position. Traps out everywhere here by Bono, who's just skipping between lanes. And KT just waiting for some super creeps to head towards the base so they can guarantee this outer turret. Oh my god, Kaney taking so much damage from aiming. He's just walking on forward. Oh! The ulti has to go golden. Smeb going to be pushed underneath the turret. And there's the GA. Can the rest of the team actually save them? As he flashes out, the Tempered Fate was beautiful by Tucson. Mia limping away from the team fight. But he will get back to the fountain. The last inhibitor will fall down. As SeolHaeOne Prince, I mean, they're not dead. But their base is very close to it. Aiming in trouble. Flawless. May have overextended, but the Chrono Break is going to be there. He'll survive. And aiming goes back to full health. Looks like KT are going to go for a bit of a disengage towards the Baron Pit. Because they can. And this game is going to extend just a little bit further.
It's going to pull off the, well, we are so far ahead that we can essentially do whatever we want. If we want to try to force a 4v4, we can do that. If we want to take down both buffs, we can do that. Looks like they're going to go for the flashy end here. Looking to stack up their kills.
Yep, Smeb's teleporting in. He's got the home guard. Big stun will land. And there's the showstopper out as Bono's just going to pounce on top of Kaney, but goes golden, so avoids a bit of that damage. Doesn't seem to matter as you saw the Gnar try and do what he could. Flawless grabs the kill onto Yukal, but they trade it for all of their damage. And there's the ulti. Unfortunately, no way to get the parallel convergence out faster. And so Flawless will fall down to that ace in the hole. And now, with this parade of super creeps, KT will finally end this game at around 33 minutes.
Yep, they have done it. Kaney, they're trying to take him down first, but there's way too many minions.
Sure.
Way too many minions. GG.
I wanted him to be golden by the time the game ended. But yeah, congratulations to KT. They will win game number 1. They're looking for a 2-0 if they really want to put the last nail in the sandbox coffin. But they did look good. Smeb, unfortunately, wasn't actually able to get back to a decent laning phase. But the early game was all about the Wukong. And the late game was all about that spinning monkey in the back line wreaking havoc. And KT did just get so much of an advantage from that early play. Bit of a coin flip from SeolHaeOne Prince, but I mean, if they didn't do it, then they wouldn't be SeolHaeOne Prince with it.
Yeah, well, that's essentially the way it goes. And Smeb, he's going to get my vote for the POG. Certainly had a... kind of looked like he was smurfing there a little bit.
Yeah.
More so than a lot of the other players, including those on his team. Kind of just carrying them hardcore in a solo queue-esque fashion. Just everywhere on the map. He's like that top laner that you get every once in a while. It doesn't happen very often, but it's like... does really well in lane early on, but then he's there for the fight, and then he's like down at the bottom side with a great teleport gank. And he really just got so much done. He's not going to have the most damage on the team. And I think that Yukal also had a great game really on the Silas, but I think that Smeb just did more to get the team ahead.
Well, I mean, that 30k damage that Caitlyn did is largely because Smeb sacked his lane to win hers, right?
Yeah.
He teleported down to the bottom lane, guaranteed the kill on the Blitzcrank for the Caitlyn, and then made sure that he walked away with a dead Ashe there. Also, that denied so much CS from said Ashe and meant that the Caitlyn was in just perfect spot for the rest of the game. So really, really well played by Smeb. I love that he was always known for sort of selfless play, team fight play, and continues to do so here in this game.
Yeah, certainly looked great there up against SeolHaeOne Prince in game number 1. We'll see if he can keep it up going into the second game.
Exactly right, guys. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether Sandbox are going to be out for good or whether SeolHaeOne Prince can fight back. See you there.
탔어.
오케이.
일단 쳐봐. 이쪽
나갈게.
나와봐. 오른쪽.
여기 블리츠.
블리츠 쪽.
이긴 거 같아. 테일부터. 나르. 나르 노고.
끝내러 가자 이거.
나궁 5초.
에이시 노플.
끝내러 가자.
야 잡았어. 오케이.
나이스.
한 명 어디 갔냐? 비우고 싶은데. 뒷사람.
너무 간 사람. 난 처음이다.